Day one of Sean Combs' criminal trial was eventful. Besides riveting and illuminating opening speeches by the prosecution and defense, the jury heard the first witnesses: Astroglide, suspected paid sex job, obscene text messages, Diddy in a disguise, and the rapper shoved against a wall. This is the official courtroom recap for today. Jesse Weber here with Law and Crime's Sidebar. Here it is. Sean Diddy Combs' federal criminal trial began today. From Cassandra Ventura's November 2023 lawsuit to the multiplicity of allegations and subsequent lawsuits, property raids, arrest, and indictment in September 2024, many bail attempts, and several superseding indictments. On May 12, 2025, the jury was chosen, opening statements began, and the first witnesses testified in his criminal prosecution. In this trial, federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York claim Combs established a network, enterprise, and pattern of criminal activity that abused women through sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to prostitution. Since federal courts don't allow cameras or recording devices, we'll try to offer daily summaries on the sidebar every day of this trial. We want to give you enough facts and descriptions to make you feel like you're in that courtroom. High-interest case. This case matters. We believe it's only fair to give you as much information as possible. Day one will cover jury selection, opening comments, and witnesses. I'll bring in Law and Crimes reporter Elizabeth Milner, who is in court today. Hi, Elizabeth. Always nice to see you. First things, I'll let you go because you haven't eaten today. I know today was busy. What was it like entering that courtroom today? I believe you had problems entering the courthouse. Describe the scene. I arrived early at 7, Jesse, this morning. We were lucky to have someone hold a spot in line for us because that's how many people want to be here. Inside that courthouse, inside that courtroom, whether they're lawyers, journalists, or the general public. Let me inform Jesse. When I arrived this morning, the line was down the block and filled with journalists and individuals who wanted to be in that courtroom again. Just a madhouse. Like many in the media, we're comparing it to Hunger Games. With such a high-profile trial with so many eyes on it, everyone wanted to be inside that courtroom, so it was really that serious that many people wanted to make sure they had their place in line and could get inside. People sometimes cut lines to get ahead or climb up in whatever manner possible, because the bailiffs send us to court in groups of 6 or 7. Rarely is the entire group turned away. Some try to slip in with the ascending group. The bailiffs sometimes capture it, sometimes not. However, press pass holders can breeze through. Although today was day one and opening statements were high profile, the courtroom was nonetheless filled. However, entering that courthouse today was insane. I followed you on X and saw your video of Lil Rod Jones, who sued Sean Combs. He arrived today. Wow, that was impressive. Was he even in court? Was his appearance surprising? He was doing what? I wasn't expecting him to stand in line like us. He probably arrived after 7:30. Before 8, they brought us into the courthouse at about 8:30. I was surprised to see him in that queue with us. He entered wearing sunglasses and 2 chains, not the rapper. Many cameras were in his face. He claimed through his counsel that he wouldn't make any statements or give any interviews. While outside the courthouse, we didn't see that. To protect our viewers, we can't bring phones. Most marshals and bailiffs instruct us to switch off our phones as we enter. After we entered the courthouse, I noticed him, his attorney, and his entourage standing in line with the public. I probably saw him in the courtroom for half the day. He was focused. He watched the jury selecting preemptive strikes and opening comments. After lunch, he wasn't sure where he headed. I didn't see him in court this afternoon. However, we saw him and his counsel in court this morning. Okay, who was with Sean Combs in court before opening statements and jury selection? Were there notable faces? How did Sean Combs appear? He seems happy, considering this is a huge day. Day 1. Opening statements. He emerged before 9 a.m. He wore gray sweatshirt. His undershirt was white. His pants were gray. His glasses were on him. He waved to his family and made a heart sign. Yes, he stood at the defense table. He was organizing documents. But Jesse, I found it interesting that we could see him reading the Bible today. This was before preemptive strikes, so maybe this was to cheer him up. Maybe he needs religion or something. Many of us saw him holding the Bible. We wondered, is that a Bible? When he got up and put it in his legal briefcase or whatever he brings to court, we were like, okay, that was a Bible. However, the courtroom was full of famous faces today. Karen Agnifilo, Mark's wife, was in court. We had Lil Rod in court. Doug Winder was in court. He's famous because he represents Cassie Ventura, who will testify tomorrow. We had Quincy Brown in court. Diddy's adopted son. We had Justin Combs. Mesa, his mother, was in court. We had Christian, Delilah, Jesse, Chance, and Janice Combs. Diddy's mother, Dana Tran, was in court. Dana, the daughter of Diddy's youngest child, Love, who is 2 or 3 years old, is also famous. The baby wasn't in court or anything. There was also the twins' caregiver guardian, Kim Porter's best buddy, too. We saw several famous faces in the courtroom. There were rumors that Lisa Bloom and Gloria Allred were in the courthouse today. I think they were in the media overflow area, which is unexpected given their credentials, but those were the most notable persons in that courtroom today. Shocking sex, wild scenario, and violent violence. Cassandra Ventura's long-awaited testimony began on day 2 of Sean Combs' criminal trial, the key witness in this case. Elizabeth Milner, a law and crime reporter, returns to the courtroom to explain what happened today. Welcome to Law and Crime's Sidebar. I'm Jesse Weber. Sean Diddy Combs' blockbuster sex trafficking trial's second day featured shocking testimony from his ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura, the prosecution's star witness. She gave approximately 6 hours of testimony. Based on what we read in the courtroom, she testified to something. Sean Combs was accused of psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. Remember, she is 8.5 months pregnant and testifying after 2 others. A lot to cover. Since there are no cameras in the courtroom, we'll recap every key moment from today's proceedings. None of it was recorded. It was the next best thing. We have law and crime reporter Elizabeth Milner, who witnessed everything today in that courtroom. Many thanks, Elizabeth, for appearing. I know this day has been exhausting, especially after hearing what happened in court. That'll happen. Is it crazy again before we start the testimony? Are there many reporters, spectators, and people? Just describe the current scene. The scenario resembled day 1's opening comments. Day 2 was similar. Many people are trying to get into that courthouse and courtroom, especially for Cassie Ventura's big testimony, which we were all awaiting today. Many were trying to sneak in. I got into that courtroom by chance, prayer, and connections, which always assist in this case. It's mayhem at the courthouse. Media campouts span the block. This case also has a lot of public interest from those who want to see Diddy, his family, or just be in the courtroom or courthouse, even if they are in the overflow room. However, the case is popular. I don't anticipate that to stop this week. Not surprising with Cassandra Ventura testifying. First, we finished Daniel Phillips' cross-examination before her testimony. The male escort or performer began his evidence yesterday. I said Diddy paid him to have sex with Cassandra Ventura while he watched and recorded. It appears this happened multiple times. Combs faces racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution transportation charges again. These are coercive sexual performances, essential witnesses. Elizabeth, what did this witness's cross-examination reveal today? Xavier Donaldson continued the cross-examination. He's feisty with this witness, so it was interesting to see him in action yesterday and today. He asked him about returning to the Gramercy Park Hotel. Why did Diddy sit in the corner? Why did he observe that exactly? What happened when he and Cassie were having sex was inquired about. Donaldson inquired, did Cassie lead? Daniel Phillips says they each did their thing. Was Cassie drunk? Daniel Phillips said no. Was Cassie high? Daniel Phillips said no. Cassie paid for him or a hotel? Daniel Phillips said he didn't know. They discussed Cassie's apartment assault. Cassie also testified about it. These back-and-forth questions were mostly to clarify. In the cross-examination, I wondered where it was heading. However, the defense may have been trying to prove that Cassie was coherent. I should clarify she wasn't drunk or high throughout these freakouts or interactions. Many of us in the press saw that Daniel Phillips strolled into the courtroom with his sunglasses on, which is unusual for witnesses. So far, only 3 have testified. It was an intriguing moment. Early this morning, it wasn't raining. The weather wasn't exactly sunny either. We wondered, why is he wearing sunglasses? After leaving the witness stand, he put the sunglasses back on and left the courtroom. Jesse, another intriguing point they were making today was regarding a December 2023 event, not an incident. Xavier Donaldson mentioned Daniel's friend Malia. They, or Daniel Phillip, were questioned about seeing Cassie outside the Dream Hotel in downtown New York City. Daniel Phillip reportedly informed his friend Malia that Cassie had wanted to phone him later to meet her. Defense maintains it was for another experience. Phillip said that wasn't always the case. After breaking up with Diddy, Cassie requested a one-on-one, the defense argued. Daniel Phillip met with federal prosecutors in March of this year, a couple of months ago. The way Daniel Phillip talked about Cassie was one thing I recall from his testimony. He commented yesterday that Cassie was one of the most beautiful women he had ever seen. He also indicated he would date Cassie if she gave him a chance. He seemed to have a platonic relationship with Cassie, notably in protecting her. Daniel Phillip maintained he wasn't envious of Diddy having sex with Cassie, but he told federal prosecutors he was on October 7th, 2024. A sidebar occurred here. After the sidebar, Daniel Phillip was questioned again. Would he be jealous of his romantic interest in Cassie? Daniel Phillip denied telling prosecutors that. Maureen Comey had to divert all the cross-examination and back and forth to a focus after the redirect. She wondered why Diddy's directing wasn't mentioned. He said Diddy told Cassie to apply baby oil on him orally. Daniel Phillip was asked about money and given $3,800 more for sex than for dancing or time. He claimed to have been paid $700 to $6,000 for sex. If he doesn't have sex with Cassie or Diddy, he gets nothing. During the redirect, Daniel Phillip alleged that Cassie rarely answered his texts. However, when Diddy beat Cassie, he tried to convince her to perform sexually with Daniel Phillip by saying that Daniel couldn't obtain an erection after hearing the slaps in an adjacent room. He said he wanted to hug her because he could sense she was shivering and terrified, confirming that Diddy hit Cassie and called her the B word. So, they talked under the recross. He was queried again about unanswered SMS messages. Cassie answered casually to some of those communications, as demonstrated in various displays. There are some key conclusions from Daniel Phillips's recross, redirect, recross, so that sealed his witness status. He probably left the stand within an hour of the court's start. Putting on his shades, he left the courtroom. Diddy looked to be listening to every witness in this case so far. Diddy obviously wanted Daniel. Phillip was focused on his words, again, actively participating in his defense by taking notes, giving them to his attorney, and listening to Xavier Donaldson cross-examine and recross. Diddy was laser-focused on this witness and Cassie Ventura, as we all know, thanks to Upside for funding our Sean Diddy Combs trial coverage. The third day of Sean Diddy Combs' sensational sex trafficking trial revealed even more shocking details as Cassie, Diddy's former girlfriend and mentee, testified. She described years of abuse, coercion, and the dark side of freak-off parties, and jurors are seeing photographic evidence. How did Diddy react to court testimony today? What was the courtroom mood? Cassie's cross-examination. What would it be like? Welcome to this Law and Crime Sidebar Special. I'm Chris Stewart for Jesse Weber. Our Law and Crime reporter, Elizabeth Milner, is in the courtroom again today to give us an inside look at what's happening in the Southern District of New York courtroom. Elizabeth, the court just ended. Thanks for taking the time. First, what was the mood today? Cassie's second day on the stand? Again, the mood was similar to Cassie's first day of testifying. Today's events were anticipated by many. What will our prosecutors discuss with Cassie? Today was the culmination of her 11-year romance with Diddy, whom she calls Sean when testifying. Today, the courtroom tone was different. We expected to reach the cross-examination today after part 2 of her direct examination. Not happening. It'll start tomorrow morning. For mood, Cassie comes in today sporting a long gray outfit. Like yesterday, she walked straight to the witness stand. Her family supported her. The family includes her mother, brother, and husband, Alex Fine. Diddy's children are across the courtroom. His daughters were absent, so it was different from yesterday. A source told me they weren't there for a reason that affects many kids. They attended graduation, the prom is coming. They're not in court because of that. They're flying home to attend to those activities, thus they're no longer in the city. However, most of Diddy's supporters today were his sons. That included Quincy Brown. That includes Justin Combs. Christian Combs and Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, were in the courtroom. So you had Diddy's relatives on one side. Cassie's family and lawyers were opposing you. Today's mood was set. From what I saw, Diddy kept his eyes on Cassie even after she entered the courtroom and came up to the witness stand. From what I saw, Cassie didn't care about the defendant or his family. She again ran to the witness stand. She swore again. She kept her cool for the most part. There were emotional moments in her testimony. We'll discuss in detail shortly. That was mostly the court's mood, thinking we'd go to the cross, but it was still another day of direct examination. Cassie may not leave the stand until the conclusion of the week. Elizabeth, before we get to Cassie's evidence today, I know there was some drama between the prosecution and defense. What happened? Arguments occurred outside the jury before testimony resumed this morning. Cassie is not on the witness stand outside the jury. Her family wasn't in court during these arguments. The defense urged Cassie and her counsel to stay silent when cross-examining witnesses. The defense argued that emotional support isn't the issue. The government argued that the witness should be entitled to communicate with her attorney under privilege, a lot of legalese and gibberish. The defense was worried about Cassie and her lawyer collaborating on the testimony since she was a government witness. They feared the authorities would inform Cassie's lawyer. Cassie's counsel referred it to them during cross-examination. That frightened them a bit. From the government's perspective, Maureen Comey argued today that when she talks to prospective witnesses' attorneys, they're actually just talking about logistics. They're not discussing testimony, talking about transportation. Their topic is security. They're discussing Cassie's courtroom exit, security, and logistics. Those were some of the arguments. The defense's marked exhibits were another major contention this morning before Cassie resumed her testimony. The government believed the defense was not producing new exhibits. They expected to present these exhibits in April, just weeks ago, and maintain that their purpose is not trial by ambush. The defense claims they are marking a huge number of exhibits, some of which are in the government's hands. This exhibit included mostly Sean Combs and Cassie's text exchanges. The defense said it was unfair for the government to prepare a witness with text messages. They stated they can hand over marked exhibits in response to direct testimony around cross-examination. Although the government demanded these displays immediately, they wanted them fast. They reiterated that things have to be turned in by April and that we're in trial. Our testimony is underway. Even the judge seemed confused. Why are you bringing this up now, while we're on trial? Why didn't you raise this problem before the trial if you didn't have them? We could have handled this situation. Thus, we don't delay the jury. We can start the day that way. That took roughly 30 minutes of defense government back and forth. The conclusion was to turn in these materials during cross-examination. So, we or the government may soon receive these exhibits, so they can promote and possibly re-ask these questions under redirect. That's why this testimony is taking so long. There are so many intricate components from both sides that they want to make sure they have their ducks in a row. The defense believes they'll turn over the exhibits, but not when the government intended. Cassandra Ventura's husband, Alex Fine, fathered her children. First, imagine his reaction to his wife's statement on the stand concerning her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. How likely is Alex Fine to testify at this trial? From the defense's standpoint, it seemed likely. The defense hopes to summon him as a witness to impeach his wife's evidence, which is rare. This dispute began yesterday. This was roughly 2018-ish. In essence, the defense raised these arguments yesterday. This was about the testimony to be presented, discussed today. The alleged rape occurred in 2018. They claimed Alex Fine mostly threatened Diddy. They stated Alex Fine threatened Diddy to bash him up over Cassie's $30 million demand. These words were spoken in court yesterday. The defense wants Alex Fine as an impeachment witness. The government generally agreed that he should be permitted in the courtroom when his wife testifies to provide emotional support. Even sitting a few seats back from him, you could sense the tension between him and Sean Combs, not from Sean's perspective, but from Alex Fine's, who appeared genuinely disturbed. He appeared to be reliving and describing this testimony in gory detail. He appeared upset about why you done this to my wife. I adore and want to protect her. It appeared like a defense mechanism, or his natural reaction, but you could tell from some of the testimony today that there were some difficult moments. Recall these arguments outside the jury's presence yesterday. The defense claims they wanted to keep him out of the courtroom when she testified about this 2018 rape. He, her brother, her mother, and her attorney stayed in the courtroom for most of her testimony. However, this testimony about Cassie's brother's 2018 party had us talking.